Richie Incognito on the defensive more than a week after being accused of bullying former teammate Jonathan Martin. It is tonight's big development in the ongoing Miami Dolphins drama. Incognito telling his side of the story in a one-on-one interview with Fox Sports reporter Jay Glazer, explaining the graphic and racial nature of the voicemail he left for teammate Jonathan Martin. CBS 4's Ted Scouten is out on the West Coast tonight. He's outside the Martin home in Los Angeles. Ted? All right, Ted, and from you on the West Coast, our team coverage continues now on the Dolphins drama to the Tampa Bay area, where they're gearing up for the big Monday night matchup against the Buccaneers. There's Kem Bokamper. Take it away, Kem. And something to stay up for in just about 30 minutes right here on CBS 4 News, the full-length interview with Richie Incognito and Fox's Jay Glazer. The Dolphins drama continues in the national spotlight. Look for a live report from Tampa and commentary from CBS Sports anchor James Brown live on the network broadcast of CBS This Morning, starting at 7 a.m. right after CBS 4 this morning, beginning at 5 a.m. Also new tonight, a small plane crashes at sea a few miles off Grand Bahama Island, and there are no survivors. Bahamian authorities say there were 4 Americans aboard the single-engine plane believed to be on a sightseeing trip. The pilot radioed the tower there that the plane was having engine problems. We have these pictures, which were just sent to our newsroom from the Freeport News in the Bahamas, of the bodies being removed. Royal Bahamian police forces did reach the crash site at sea about 7 miles north of the airport in the ocean, finding the wreckage in the water. The bodies were recovered. Their identities have not yet been released. Back to South Florida now, in Broward County, where the victim of a gang rape recorded on video is telling her story for the first time. The 16-year-old victim told our news partners at the Miami Herald how she was beaten and attacked in Hollywood. Police arrested Javon Woolfork, Leyland Singleton, and 3 others for the attack that happened 2 weeks ago. Those 3 are not being identified because they are underage. One of them was a friend of the victim and allegedly lured her to the house where she was attacked. The victim told the Miami Herald, "They just kept kicking me. They were all kicking me and telling me that they wouldn't stop unless I had sex with Javon." As for a motive for being lured, the victim said she was jealous, I think because he, an ex-boyfriend, was calling me. But she came to me later and said, "Hey, we've been friends since kindergarten. Let's make up." The victim believes this was all a complete setup. Also new tonight, the search for a hit-and-run driver who police say cut off a motorcyclist, causing a deadly crash on Broward Boulevard near Fort Lauderdale. It happened in front of a strip mall in the 3600 block. The car's driver took off on foot. That motorcyclist died at Broward Health Medical Center. The basics like running water, power, food, even a roof over your head are hard to come by tonight for hundreds of thousands in the central Philippines. The devastation from one of the most powerful typhoons on record is staggering. Nearly 10,000 people are feared dead in just one city alone. Today, the president of the Philippines toured some of the hardest hit areas where survivors are rather upset at the slow government emergency response. Typhoon Haiyan packed winds of up to 170 miles per hour when it hit there on Friday. Entire villages were reduced to rubble, and much of the country is in the dark going into Monday now. The Red Cross estimates at least 1,200 people have been killed there. President Obama says he and the First Lady are deeply saddened and says the United States is providing significant assistance to help with relief and recovery efforts. Today, about 80 United States Marines arrived in the Philippines to help with disaster relief. Meantime, the destruction in the Philippines is raising much concern tonight right here in our area. CBS 4's Jamie Garola is live in the newsroom now with details on the South Florida connection. Jamie? Am I ugly? It's a simple question being asked by girls on social media tonight, and that is especially concerning for parents. We have a warning coming up when the news continues. First, he hugged his colleagues, and then he kissed his girlfriend when he landed at Miami International Airport this morning. But just wait until you hear what a Miami Herald reporter detained for 2 days in Venezuela had to say about the Venezuelans. It's just after midnight. You're watching CBS 4 News. Now, Venezuelan National Guardsman near the border with Colombia may have thought he was a spy. We're talking about Miami Herald reporter Jim Wiss, who was held for 2 days while on assignment preparing a story on elections and the trade in contraband along the frontera de Colombia and Venezuela. Jim returned to South Florida this morning with nothing but kind words for how Venezuela resolved the matter.
How you guys doing?
The Herald's Jim Wiss, embraced by his colleagues.
Hey, how are you, Scott?
And his competitors. And someone else. His beautiful Colombian girlfriend. The Herald's Andean bureau chief back in South Florida after being detained for 48 hours in Venezuela while on assignment.
Once they established that I was a reporter trying to do my job, they seemed as interested in anybody in trying to get this whole matter resolved as quickly as possible.
It started last Thursday in the border town of San Cristobal near Cucuta in Colombia, where Jim was working on a story about the trade in contraband, trying to get information from the Venezuelan National Guard.
After a couple of hours, when I didn't get any answers, I was like, well, I'll go find my answers elsewhere, and they said I couldn't leave. And at that point, I was turned over to the military counterintelligence.
Jim says he was questioned for several hours, held overnight, then questioned again.
As the word began to leak out that I was there through beginning with the local press, and then thanks to you guys, it's kind of the media attention increased, and I think they became aware of the fact that I was just a reporter trying to do my job. They moved me on to the immigration authorities. They took me to Caracas. And then I spent one night there, and then the next day was released.
Jim says once the situation was resolved, the Venezuelans told him he didn't need to leave the country and was welcome to come back anytime he wanted.
What's next? Well, I live in Bogota, Colombia, so I'm going to soak up a little bit of sun in Miami, and then I'm headed back home to keep working.
Jim will be meeting with his editors later today, and he says he plans to be back in South America to cover the Venezuelan municipal elections December 10th. Meantime, Florida Senator Marco Rubio is calling this an example of a chilling effort against press freedom in Venezuela. He's calling on the Organization of American States to investigate. Now we're going to tell you the story of an alarming online trend involving teenagers, even young girls. They're called Am I Ugly videos. Not sure what they are? Well, CBS 4 anchor Cynthia Demas explains why parents should be paying very close attention.